Hello, my name is Joshua Lels. Doing a Raspberry Pi as a media center for my class CPMT 2433TY1. It's December 2nd, 2021. I'll be presenting my presentation now. So our first slide is basically showing how you download the software to input the Raspberry Pi. This Raspberry Pi OS is going to allow your Raspberry Pi to start up and allow you to configure whatever you want and implement any program that you want into your Raspberry Pi. For instances, you need to first start to install the Raspberry Pi imager, and then from there you also need your SD card that comes with the Raspberry Pi kit. That SD card, you need to insert it into a USB that takes an SD card, and you need to connect it to your desktop. And then also you see right here on this picture, this is the imager, and it's telling you which OS you want and the storage. So the OS, you're gonna end up picking the Raspberry Pi Lite OS, and then also choosing your SD card. For the next slide, we're gonna see that your Raspberry Pi is starting up, and then you configure the internet and the host name. So in these pictures, it's showing right here, this bottom one, you can't really see it, but it's basically the beginning of when the Raspberry Pi turns on and you're able to configure it. So when you go into the configuring settings, you're able to just implement the Wi-Fi name and then the Wi-Fi password. And once you put that in, you'll be able to connect to the internet or Wi-Fi. And then also you need to, for this project, you need to change the host name. So for mine, since my name is Joshua Lales, I put j.lales. And then after this, we're going to talk about the SSH and how to enable it. So for instance, we're going to be talking about what is an SSH. An SSH is a secure shell in the cryptographic community or network protocol for working network offerings securely over an unsecured network. Typical packages consist of faraway command line login and faraway command execution, but any type of network carrier may be secured with SSH. So in SSH, you're basically allowing the desktop to connect to the Raspberry Pi. So for this one, I'm going to put my command prompt here, and I'm going to type SSH pi at, and then my IP, which is 192.168.1.161. And this is going to tell me, it's going to prompt me to put my Raspberry Pi password. I'm going to then put my password. And then from there, it will allow me to connect to my Raspberry Pi directly from my Windows command line. And then, so we go to the next slide. So this is basically what I just demonstrated with my command line. I first enabled SSH, which you can do whenever the Raspberry Pi opens up. You need to do the command sudo raspi-config, and from there you're going to be prompted with a settings display, and then from there you have to go into interface options and then enable SSH, and then from there you'll be able to do what I did, which is go also before that, you need to know your IP for the Raspberry Pi, and that in order to know your IP from the Raspberry Pi, you just go onto the Raspberry Pi, and then you do if config. And then right here on this bottom one, the WLAN O, since I'm in the Ethernet, the WLAN O, the INET one is your IP address. So 192.168.1.161. So this is your IP that you're going to be showing, or that you're going to be doing the SSH with, that I demonstrated up here. SSH pi at, and then your IP. We're going to go back to the thing, and then that's it. And then after this, we're going to be implementing BusyBox. So BusyBox is a software suite that provides several Unix utilities in a single executable file. It runs in a variety of POSIX environments such as Linux, Android, and FreeBSD. Although many of the tools it provides are designed to work with the interface provided by the Linux kernel. So the BusyBox is going to allow us to make whatever we want. And then in this instances, we're going to be using HTTPD, which is one of the commands that it gives out. I'll be showing that right now. So I'll just do BusyBox, and then it gives me a bunch of commands here that we're going to be, or functions that we can use. So for this one, we're going to be using the HTTPD, which is right here. This is the HTTPD, which is going to allow us to make the web server that we need to make for this project. And so this is what I just demonstrated right now. I was checking if BusyBox was installed, and it was, and then I showed the different commands or the functions that we can use. After that, we need to give ourselves permissions. First, we need to create a directory. I forgot to involve that, but after you create your own directory that you want to have the BusyBox on, you then give yourself permissions on, and then also allow the PHP to allow you to make the right script. So in this picture, I'm allowing myself to get, I'm giving myself permissions to all the files that I made. So in this one, I made the index.html web page, or the file, as you could say, and I gave myself permissions with the command sudo chown or chown pi, and then the 2 dots and pi, and then that gave me permission to be writing the script that I will be writing to give myself the example web page. So this is the test page that I made. As you can see here, it is cut off a little bit, but I put my IP. So when you want to test out your test page and see if it's working, you then go to a web browser on your desktop and put your IP, and it will show the test page that you made. And the code that I made was, I believe, this one right here. This one. So I put like a bunch of script. I put a script and a basic script to allow me to make that test page. And then after that, you need to then installing and downloading single file PHP gallery, and also implementing 5 photos of the lab resulting to the PHP gallery. So here, right here, you can see very little. You can see it, but here I'll show it on here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna go to my directory that I made. Oh shoot, never mind. I did something wrong. I'll go back on it. Okay, so I'm on my directory right now, and let's say I want to look at all the files that I have. So right now, I have the gallery the gallery.html that I made. So I'm gonna go to vi gallery.html, and I'm going to see the script that I made for the gallery PhD. And this is the whole script. This is a really very long script, but it allowed me to make the gallery and also put the photos, which are these pink letters, these pink files right here. These are all the pictures that I put into my gallery. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. About 5 photos of the lab, and then 5 different photos, which I will be going into right now. So then the other way which is the other 5 photos I implemented, was downloading the software WinSCP, and that is going to allow me to go from the desktop, download it, and then directly go to the Pi with the IP same way as I did the SSH, just without the SSH part. So then it just prompts me to give the IP, and I give my IP, and then it allows me to look at the files right here. As you can see, it shows the files for the Raspberry Pi on this side on the right, and on the left it shows my files for my desktop. So right here I'm putting an arrow to the photo that I will be transferring over here, and I did. As you can see, it's called Office something, and then when we go back and check which one's right here, Modern Office Business Desktop, this was the one, and it's PNG. So this is the one that I did, and there was other ones also, but you get the gist of it. Like, I was able to transfer the photos onto the Raspberry directly from the software, and voila, there you go. And I have the window open actually right now, and as you can see, it's showing the gallery working. You see right here, my IP is right here, and then the file that I created, which is gallery.html. So this photos were the ones that I uploaded. So there's about the exact number, which is 10. And then here's the office one. I just remember that this was the office one, and then this one's another one. This is the lab. It came out a little fuzzy, but I did implement it. There's another one just showing me how I implemented, or I was looking how to install PHP Gallery. And then this is another one when I was doing the app update and all this stuff. So there's a picture of a car that I put. The code, you can't really see it. There's a picture of a dog, the PlayStation, a computer desktop, another code that cut off a little bit, and then a picture of college. So then that's it. And see, we were able to go. There's an arrow on the bottom that's allowing us to make a new window to look at the picture a little bit more better. So I guess you can do it for these right here. And it comes out a little bit smaller and cut off, but you get like the conclusion of this web server that I made. So in that instances, this is complete gallery on my Raspberry Pi using all the software and tools that I have been provided or have been given, and this is my references right here, and that is it. Thank you.